The Prime Minister is encouraging Barbadians to preserve objects of archaeological and historical significance. The central bank governor is disappointed with the slowdown in the economy. And in sports, the Lakers draw first blood at the Premier League final series.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Evening News. Prime Minister Frindle Stewart wants Barbadians to play their part in preserving relics and other objects of archaeological, historical and cultural interest across the island. He was speaking in Parliament before the passage of the Preservation of Antiquities and Relics Bill 2011.
This bill should go a long way towards boosting Barbadian confidence, boosting the confidence of our people in ourselves. I heard the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, the Honourable Minister of Education, bemoaning the fact that there are certain aspects of our spiritual culture of which we have become ashamed. The responsibility of education, therefore, is to try to reverse this trend. We are not international people in the sense that we pick something from here and something from there and we do not know where we stand. We have something specific to contribute to the treasury of human civilization.
Meantime, Culture Minister Stephen Lashley said that Barbadians should soon know what is being done to promote the island now that the Bridgetown and Garrison areas have been granted World Heritage status. He congratulated the Transport Board for taking steps to provide a double-decker open bus to take sightseers across the sites.
This is one of but many innovative ideas which of course are coming to the fore. And I must say that there are many young Barbadian entrepreneurs who are responding extremely well to the inscription of historic Bridgetown and its garrison.
Opposition member Roll Eastman has agreed with government's position on the pillage of Barbadian artifacts, and he's suggesting that the slave burial site at Newton be revisited. In his contribution to the Preservation of Antiquities and Relics Bill, Mr. Eastman singled out artifacts taken from around Sam Lord's Castle in St. Philip, which he said had been known for its folklore and its importance to Barbados tourism. The opposition member also lamented the fact of the destruction of important tools and documents which were indigenous to Barbados.
It's fashionable, Mr. Speaker, to speak of Arabs and Caribs, but historians have told us that we have people here called the Siboneyes and the Barrancoid people. We have heard about the Siboneyes and the Barrancoid people. Those people may very well have been a Stone Age type people and would have made Stone Age type artifacts, and we have lost a lot of that through what I call pilferage by countries that ought to have known better, because those countries that have pilfered our artifacts themselves put systems in place by which they are not easily pilfered from.
Barbados should seriously consider bidding to host the next Carry Festa, the region's premier cultural festival. This is the view of Member of Parliament for St. Michael's Southeast, Hamilton Lashley.
Because Barbados being viewed now as the capital of the Caribbean in every sense of the word, sir, that now is more than an opportune time for us to host Carry Festa again in Barbados. And sir, Trinidad has something called Best Village. Trinidad hosts Carry Festa. I think it's the country that have hosted Carry Festa the most. It first began in Guyana. But the point is, sir, is that Barbados is right now, sir, for the hosting of Carry Festa.
Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says the most recent central bank report shows just how deeply the global recession has impacted Barbados' economy. But he has welcomed the 1% economic growth highlighted by Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell. The Finance Minister said the serious progress made to bring the fiscal deficit down to levels near consistent with government's medium-term fiscal strategy is equally heartening. According to him, the continued recovery in VAT receipts as part of an overall pickup in revenues and the reduction in key areas of expenditure, particularly in subsidies and transfers, are signs that the government's program for fiscal consolidation is getting serious traction. He said the country's objectives over the next 6 months to a year should be to sustain current and forge new strategies to expand our economy. Well, Central Bank Governor Dr. Dilawar has expressed disappointment with the slowdown in the economy, indicating that the job losses being experienced are likely to continue until year-end when the winter season begins. He made the comments to reporters as he reviewed the performance of the Barbados economy for the first 9 months of this year. Peter Thorne reports.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Dilawar says he's disappointed with the slowdown in the economy, which grew by just over 1% during the first 9 months of the year, but much slower than the 2 to 2.5% originally forecast at the beginning of this year.
The industrial economies, which we depend on for our foreign exchange, have been slowing down, and the international investment climate remains very uncertain. We are already seeing the results of that in our tourism and in our international business and financial services sector. What this means is that we are going to have to hold a tight rein on the economy for a little while longer than we had expected, and in particular, our fiscal consolidation measures will have to remain in place in order to protect our foreign exchange reserves.
Dr. Worrell has told reporters that job losses being experienced in the economy at present will continue until the start of the winter tourist season in mid-December. The central bank estimates the current unemployment rate at just over 11%, which is in contrast to the Barbados Statistical Service, which has put the figure at over 12%.
At most, there was a loss of 1,000 jobs between June and September. That gives us a rate of unemployment of approximately 11%. Now, 11% sits within the range of 10.2 to 13.9. So it is entirely consistent with the results obtained by the Barbados Statistical Services and is entirely consistent with the methodology that they used.
Dr. Worrell said he had hoped the economy would have rebounded from 2010 this year, but that didn't materialize. He says any recovery in the economy will be led by tourism.
Any recovery has to come in tourism. That's, nothing else is going to make a contribution large enough to compensate for tourism. So if I'm expecting a turnaround in foreign exchange, it is because I'm expecting that tourism will be sufficiently better. As I said, this year the numbers have increased, but the expenditure hasn't. Hopefully the numbers will continue to increase, and even with the current average expenditures, because of those further increase in numbers, that hopefully will bring our foreign exchange earnings back up.
Dr. Worrell also says demand for credit from commercial banks has slowed considerably, with Barbadians unwilling to take on more debt. He also says the current recession will continue for a while, with no one certain about when the downturn will end. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
Peter, thanks. In other news tonight, schools across Barbados will now have a chance to introduce agribusiness to young people as part of an expanded garden project. This project is being funded by a United States International Development Agency in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Education, and the Junior Achievement of Barbados. Youth Minister Stephen Lashley says the initial garden project was a success, with all participants having a keen knowledge of the entrepreneurship opportunities coming out of the exercise. He was speaking during a media briefing this morning at the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development.
We are creating a synergy that can make further inroads into the national quest to revitalize the much needed industry of agriculture in Barbados, while indeed building a cadre of confident, educated, healthy, responsible, and entrepreneurial young people. This project is indeed very welcome, and indeed the ministry remains extremely focused on ensuring that the program of the project realizes its full potential.
Representative from the Eastern Caribbean Youth Micro-Enterprise Program, Marsha Ann Strand, is praising the Ministry of Education for seeing the importance of this project and getting on board.
We are very grateful that the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, they have helped to spread the seeds by encouraging all schools in Barbados, private, public, secondary, primary, in adopting the Junior Achievement Program, the Garden Project, and having it at their schools. The initial 6 have come on board, and we're very happy for that. We are excited because it's a true collaborative approach to entrepreneurship education in Barbados, and we look forward to achieving together with the Youth Development Program and the Division of Youth.
More Barbadians are turning to cruising for getaways this time. Chief Executive Officer of Bridgetown Cruise Terminals, Jeffrey Roach, says it's an all-in-one package that's proving to be very attractive for travelers. He made the comments at the 41st Annual General Meeting of the Caribbean Shipping Association at the Hilton Hotel.
Because of the recession, I think people are taking cruises because it's good value for money. I mean, you get to see maybe 4 or 5 destinations on one trip, as opposed to taking a vacation to North America or Europe, where, especially if there's no family, you got to pay for hotel accommodation, food and beverage, etc., which is all taken care of in your cruise fare.
Mr. Roach says Barbados is progressing nicely as a home porting destination, noting that if it could become the hub for this type of activity, this could result in additional business for the island.
We've done extremely well with home porting. It's actually important that there be a home porting destination in the Southern Caribbean, because certainly the benefit to cruise passengers is to see multiple destinations on one trip. Puerto Rico has been traditionally the home port that served the Southern Caribbean, but of course with the increasing fuel prices, ships are hesitantly not cruising the Southern Caribbean because of the operating costs.
There is a suggestion that local businesses should invest in developing policies and programs focused on eliminating workplace discrimination against people living with HIV. Executive Director of the AIDS Foundation, Akiba Reed, says studies are showing that there is a direct link between health and productivity. She says this is something which many employers overlook.
For many enterprises, especially those in the Caribbean, the nexus between HIV and AIDS and productivity is often overlooked, underconsidered, or even oversimplified because the culture of the workplace environment contextualizes these phenomena in isolation. HIV and AIDS is not considered a serious business risk, but one of a more social issue for governments to tackle. This notion is certainly true in our Barbadian enterprises in the absence of any empirical evidence of the impact of the disease on worker engagement and productivity.
The month of November will signify more than independence for Barbadians. It will now also be dedicated as a national month of prayer. This is being done by a Christian group known as the Intercessional Prayer Organization, as the island continues to be affected by the economic downturn and an increase in deviant behavior. It was formed in 2010, at the time asking God's blessing upon the country after the death of the late Prime Minister David Thompson and the passage of Tropical Storm Tomas. The theme of this national prayer is 11-11-11-11-11, which represents the 11th of November 2011, and worship will begin at 11 minutes past the hour of 11 in the morning. Director Patrick Tannis says the society has undergone a negative transformation. He adds that he is in agreement with the Education Minister concerning the implementation of a chaplain system in schools.
I agree with the Minister wholeheartedly in that we need the chaplaincy in the schools. We need Christian chaplains in the schools who are going to bring these values, biblical values that we have so far built a great nation on, that we need them returned to the schools. I think it's a wonderful initiative, the chaplaincy initiative, and we would like to endorse it completely, and we would like to go a step further and say that among the ministers in Barbados, because per capita Barbados has more churches than any other place on earth, we'd like to say among the ministers in Barbados, there are well-qualified people to take up that challenge for the minister, and we are more than willing to meet with him and to institute this on his behalf.
President of the organization, Vertus Seeley, believes the youth will resort to criminal activity because they're being socialized by technology and not their parents.
The things that we took seriously when we grew up have now gone through the adults, and even for our children are being given to a television to babysit. What we expose our children to every day is no surprising things are happening. The games, all the things they're doing, they're enjoying being babysitted by having nannies on television.